Fanie, here we are. The last 3 days of an epic Kalahari trip. Wide open, fast sand tracks, which we didn't have the first part. It was very technical.
This is almost like cheating now.
It feels like cheating, because the things you've done with this F850 Rallye was spectacular.
Yeah.
Please, tell me, the first time we saw this at the studio, what was your first impression?
So Pierre, I wanted to challenge myself and I wanted to prove a point.
Yes,
If that makes sense.
it does.
So obviously we were planning this Kalahari cruise for a long time. My personal bike is a GS12, the 1200 Adventure, and obviously certain bikes are not made for certain types of conditions.
Yes.
But I want
that's acceptable. That's totally acceptable.
exactly, and the sandy bits of what we were doing is probably where the GS Adventure, the 1200 that I have, wouldn't have been suited. So I decided to ask Penny Sturdy from BMW South Africa Motorrad if we could use the GS, the 850 Adventure Rallye Edition like I have right now, because I thought people would think that I'm a bit crazy, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And I think that perception was definitely proven right when we arrived at the camp on the first night and the guys saw this big bike.
Did you truly feel that?
I definitely felt a little bit of a preconceived idea of what this bike would be able to do and not do.
But then just as an explanation, the guys that we're riding with are extremely experienced.
Extremely.
I'd say 3 of the top 20 adventure bikers in Southern Africa rode with us.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of level of talent that was here.
So let's start there and say that one of the things that I would have changed, and this was part of the plan, but unfortunately we ran out of time, is I wanted to get more familiar with the bike in the conditions that we are experiencing here. Go and test the bike in sandy conditions, for example. Yes, but unfortunately we ran out of time. Did some homework, did some research, thought we had everything under control. The first day went perfectly. I was very happy. We did some technical, routes up passes and all that sort of stuff. But then the Kalahari boys decided to take us into a riverbank just for a little bit of a lunch session. And the first sand that I hit, I unfortunately made the mistake of not turning off the traction control. So my settings were wrong. And because my settings were wrong, the bike didn't perform the way it should have. I struggled. I had to pick up the bike a bunch of times, and needless to say, I was a bit negative, if I can call it that.
Yes. Who can blame you? I mean, people don't regularly use adventure bikes in the way that we have done in the last week.
Correct.
An adventure bike is, per definition, a multi-purpose tool. Not very good at most things, but very capable at almost all of them.
Yeah.
What people buy when they buy an adventure bike is they buy the concept that they can be adventurous.
Yes.
That they can tour the country and off the beaten track. But the reality is that 90% of the guys that are buying and the girls that are buying bikes take them very seldom take them off-road. And
correct.
This trip we did the exact opposite.
Exactly. So, just by figuring out the electronics on the bike and getting the bike set up correctly, from the second day, it was a completely different tool. The bike was unbelievable. And as my confidence grew, we ended up doing on day 2 and 3 some of the toughest terrain and adventure riding that I think is possibly out in the Southern Africa environment.
That can be done in South Africa almost.
Correct.
I'll even go that far.
So, and this bike did everything that any KTM or Honda or any other brand could do. And I think that surprised a lot of people. It surprised me, to be quite honest.
It's a perception that the hardcore adventure bike community has, that an 800 GS is firstly not the best GS. It's a step down from the 1250. And then the second perception is that because it's a BMW, it's not hard enough. It's not aggressive enough. It's not going to take the knocks as well as the other bikes. Was that what you found?
I've spent a lot of time on other adventure bikes, Pierre, and I can say that everything about this bike. Now that I'm happy and I understand the electronics, I understand the setup of the bike, I'm extremely comfortable on the bike. I had an unbelievable time. Like I said, people don't understand. We didn't come out on an adventure ride like we're doing now. This is a normal dirt road. We went through places and passes and through riverbeds and over dunes, and people train for the Dakar Rally there.
Yes.
And we did that with this bike. That's unbelievable, man.
You did manage to go through some extremely thick sand, sea sand, fine kind of sand, extremely coarse, pebblish sand, all in riverbeds. Do you think there was a shall we say, a growth in your experience level with this bike, that it actually showed you things that you never were able to do otherwise?
Absolutely. And I think that's a very important point to make here, Pierre, is that these bikes can probably all do it with the right confidence and with the right experience on top of it, if that makes sense.
It does, absolutely. How did you find the TFT display on the front of the bike? Because let's be honest, if you buy a bike like this, it's all about the electronics and the display. Well, not all about, but most of it. Did it manage itself? Was there a glitch in the dust? Because if there is ever a dust test, this was it.
Exactly. The display is very easy to handle. All the controls for everything I need is at my fingertips, and I can do everything I need on the fly. So I can change rider modes on the right-hand side here. I can change my menus and display on my left-hand side here. And everything, like I say, on the fly while we're riding. So, Pierre, I think it's time for me to end this review and say thank you very much to Penny. Thank you very much to BMW South Africa, the Motorrad team. The BMW did everything that it was supposed to do. We have nicknamed this bike Tank. Because
that's right.
It went through everything. It went over everything. It went through everything. It was just unbelievable. And if I have to give this bike a rating, I'm going to give it a proper 9 out of 10.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
9 out of 10 is hectic, Fanie.
It's an honest opinion, bro. I challenge anybody that disagrees with me to bring this bike to the Kalahari, come and test this bike in extreme off-road conditions, and tell me otherwise.
Thank you, Fanie.